Good Tuesday morning to you all. You're watching the Kaiser Report. I'm John. I'm coming to you today from the studio here in East Tennessee, and I got a few things to report to you today. But one of the saddest things that I have to say today is that they have officially declared the two Navy SEALs that went down in off the coast of Somalia have been reported now as deceased. My prayers and heartfelt sympathy goes out to both their families and relatives that are suffering this loss, and my sincere hope is that God will take care of them and keep them in good stead. And now the rescue recovery the rescue has been turned into a recovery now. We're going to try to find their remains and get them home to their families for closure. God bless, and it's a terrible loss, and these guys don't fool around, so it appears that one lost his footing and slipped into a heavy sea. And as always, his SEAL partner dove in after him to save him, and it didn't work out. So keep them in your prayers and their families. The second thing is Jim Farley, who's the CEO of Ford Motor Company, has announced that the Mustang version is going to continue in manufacturing and sales, and that they have decided to cut back production on the electric 150 Lightning truck that they had produced and did not do well in sales. Well, it's the 60th anniversary of the Mustang, by the way. I was at the New York World's Fair in 1964. I was in school at the time, but worked there part-time at the fair, driving the amphibious cars that they had, and playing in a band on the nights that we were booked for. So I did get to see the launch of the first Mustang in 1964, which was a great launch for Ford. Lee Iacocca had a lot to do with that. It's a good car, and it has a great reputation, and continues to do so. The following of their success spawned GM to come out with the Camaro, which was another fine automobile, and Stellaris, which used to be Chrysler, came out with the Challenger and the Charger to compete with Ford on that, and they did well. But they've all decided to get out of the retro business, and they're not going to continue to produce the Chargers and the Challengers at Stellaris. And GM, I understand, is going to either cut back severely or get out of the Camaro business. Whether or not this is being driven by the push by our administration for electric vehicles, these EVs that have problems. But Ford knows now that, they may have made a mistake with this F-150. I've always had Ford F-150s. I went with Dodge several years ago in the Dodge Ram series, and I've been very happy with that, and hopefully they won't fool with that too much. Of course, I have a Hemi engine in mine, and I can pull a lot with that, and I can go the distance with it without having to recharge it. And it's not that bad on gas because they had the technology where if you're driving on a highway, several of the cylinders cease to fire, so it uses less gas. But we go on with the border problems that we're seeing still no one making a move to slow it down in any fashion at all. The cartels are happy. Our taxpayers are poor. We have over 10, 11 million people that have breached this border, some with really bad intent, and now we have an administration that sits there and a Senate that sits there with Schumer at the helm, saying that if we don't fund all of the Ukraine and all of what's going on with the nonsense that's with the Houthis and the Palestinians, that we're going to experience a terrorist attack in this country. Well, if that's true, then why do we let so many people unvetted pour into our country and be distributed through all the major cities in this country without vetting, without knowing who they are? Let's just take, for example, the 100+ young military-age Chinese nationals that came through the southern border, some probably part of a regime plan, but we don't know that. But it's funny because if you know anything about China, to get into China or to get out of China is very, very difficult. So how did hundreds of these people show up at our southern border, all military-aged young men? And when they're questioned by the Border Patrol, they're lined up in parade rest. They're military trained. And you think that these people distributed around the country are not part of cells that are being set up to do the exact thing that they're warning if they don't get their money, there'll be a terrorist attack here. Well, it's going to happen. And if you have been living under a rock and not realizing what's happening at this influx, this invasion of people through our southern border, then you need to stop, look, and listen, because it's happening, folks. It's a matter of time before these cells get together and somebody triggers the cell phones of these people and say, go, and then where are we then? The fight with Texas, who decided to stop their influx using their National Guard and their police, is being stymied by this administration. What's up with that? We have to wake up and realize that we're in some serious trouble in this country. And it's not getting any better with this administration because they don't care. I don't know what their plan is. I don't propose to tell you that I know what their plan is, but there's a plan underway, and it's clearly not going to be good for any of us. Well, getting past that, the Palestinian militants carried out a deadly single attack during this war between them and Israel, killing 21 of their soldiers. The military said on Tuesday a significant setback that could aid in the fact that they'd like to have another ceasefire. Well, let me tell you about the 3H Club over there. You give them time to reorganize, rearm, remissile, and all of the stuff that they take the time during a ceasefire to do will extend the war even further out. You cannot, when you have an enemy down, you cannot let up until it's finished. You want classic examples of that? Look at Afghanistan. How well did that work out? Not at all, because the Taliban's right back in charge and causing problems on a daily basis. So, ground forces had encircled the southern city of Khan Yunis, Gaza's second largest, and marked a major advance that was unclear on how closer it would bring Israel to defeating Hamas or freeing any hostages. So Hamas makes the comment that that's it, we're not going to release any hostages. No more. We're not giving them back. There are American hostages involved in that. We have a president that goes to a bike shop and sees a lot of helmets and thinks they're little children. It's an elusive deal that we're looking at in the Middle East. One that we should not be involved in at this particular point, because these Middle Eastern skirmishes and wars have been going on since Christ was a cadet. We're not going to change it, but we certainly shouldn't be sitting there in a military vessel being fired upon by people that hate us. We don't belong in their wars. War is not a thing to aspire to. And you would think a politician would know that. But we have a government that is not functioning as it's supposed to right now, and we don't know why. And if you think for a minute that these elections that are coming up, and I'm not talking about the primaries now, I'm talking about the general election in November, are not going to be tampered with and not dealt with in a fashion that's legal, then you're severely delusioned. We have to put a stop to that. We need one-day voting. We need same-day counting. And we don't need mail-in ballots. I'm not saying that an absentee ballot cannot be requested for a reason of deployment or being out of the United States on business, legitimate reasons. But to just mail out ballots to everybody, including non-citizens that have illegally entered this country, is dead wrong. Why can we not stop this? Who benefits? It's a serious problem. We have problems with the bank situations where you have banks going under and Jamie Dimon out there trying to, get digital currency involved. Well, that's another joke. First of all, this Congress can't manage money. They just keep spending and spending and spending. And we have less tax dollars coming in because there's so many people out of work. And if you believe the job numbers that this administration is giving you, you're severely delusioned. They're not true. There are businesses going out of business right and left. Restaurants are not doing well. People do not have the money to go out and spend like they used to at restaurants. And the ones that go to Applebee's, like, just to take one for example, may go in and get the special that's on thing, but they're not ordering drinks to go with it. People tell me all the time, "Gee, John, we went to Applebee's and had 2 drinks and 2 hamburgers, and the bill was $88. Well, that's what's happened when your food prices go through the roof. They have to pass it on to somebody, and it's going to be the consumer. Go to the supermarket. I looked at a T-bone steak yesterday while I was in the supermarket. I picked it up and I said, boy, that looks like a nice piece of meat. And the price on it was $17.80 for 1 T-bone steak. So by the time you buy the accoutrements to go with it, go home and cook it, you've got a $20 meal that used to be a $9 meal. Food prices have increased by 30 to 40% in some cases. And what the manufacturers are up to is they give you less in the bag. Take a potato chip bag. What used to be full is now 3/4. So you're getting less and paying more. This is a direct result of not only transportation. Now they're going to blame the fact that the Red Sea is closed for transportation of goods, that they have to go elsewhere to get around the horn. So prices are going to go up. Everything is more expensive. Gasoline right now is still expensive. However, they're artificially lowering the prices to make you believe that things are getting better. But he's using the reserve that we had on hand. Not only did he sell some of our reserves to China, but now he's using the reserves to lower the gas prices at the pump to make you believe that he's done something. Well, when that's gone, where do we go? Because he's canceled leases, oil leases. He's canceled new factories that are being built to refine. And you think the Democrats are on your side? Not that the Republicans are any better. We have a Republican-controlled House by a small margin. The House is starting to, as I sat with Diana Harshberger, who was our congresswoman, I realized that they have put through these House resolutions, and they go to the Senate and they collect dust. Because Schumer, he doesn't want this stuff to pass unless he gets all the pork added to those programs that the Congress has taken out. Call your Senate representatives and complain fiercely to them over their inability to get good bills passed because they want money for the Ukraine. What's happening to the billions of dollars and goods that we have pumped into the Ukraine with no accountability, no answers from Zelensky on where it went? Rumors abound that Zelensky and his cabinet are buying mansions or, luxury apartments. Where are they getting that money? We all know, and if you haven't been informed, Ukraine has always been a corrupt country. So we pour our tax dollars into a corrupt area to be distributed to who? Well, we already know that Hunter Biden's got his portion, and God knows how many of the Biden family benefited from it. The investigation on Burisma stopped because our vice president at the time, by the name of Joe Biden, went over there, and it's on film. I'm not making this up. You can see it for yourself. And said, you're not getting your aid, millions of aid, until you fire the prosecutor that's looking into his son. What more evidence do you need? He's on film saying this. And Congress is stalling the impeachment process. I mean, my God, they use lies, pure lies, to get Trump impeached twice. But yet, two sides of the aisle, two different sets of laws. Not a good deal. But it continues. Our Department of Transportation, they do nothing. But there they are. You have a Secretary of Defense that goes AWOL. The president hasn't spoken to him in how many days? He's in the hospital. They don't know where he is. And there's 3 open fronts that we have military trying to handle. And the Secretary of Defense is gone. And his next in line is on vacation in Puerto Rico. Do you see a problem here? Because I see several. It's time for us to start writing and complaining and use the election process to our benefit rather than the benefit of crooked politicians. And there I've said it. We have some. Probably more than I realize. But anyway, on the good side of things, you heard that Nikki Haley has swept the Dixville Notch votes. She got all 6 votes out of Dixville Notch. So she's riding high right now, but we'll see how high she gets. Donald Trump is doing well with polling, but that doesn't mean a whole lot. Not anymore. But no one person, I don't care who it is, Donald J. Trump, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, no one person is going to walk in to the Oval Office and make everything fixed. It's a start. But unless you surround yourself with honest people that will not turn on you and keep the American people first and foremost, nothing's going to change. You cannot fix 8 years of Obama and all the time that Joe Biden, and believe me, Joe Biden isn't running anything. It's all being done from behind that curtain. And we don't know, I don't personally know who it is, but I have a good idea. Some of you may as well. But as I watched a YouTube video, the truck talk from the Navy SEAL that I look at occasionally, and he was talking about the Christ-like effect that Donald Trump is showing, and he's not going to be the Christ, and he's not going to be the Savior. He has some good plans. He did a good job in his presidency. Does everyone like him? No. He gives you reasons not to like him, and it's purely because of the things he says. But it's refreshing to be able to say that, because we used to be free to have a joke about somebody's ethnicity and go on and laugh. But anymore now, it triggers the wrong people, so you're not allowed to have the freedom to say what you want to say. He says it right out. But he also made campaign promises in the last time he was elected, and he kept them, each and every one. And I have no reason to doubt that he would do that again. But can one person make a change in this situation that we're in right now, with the border wide open, terrorists all over the country in cells, and most of them not vetted? There's already been an attempt in Alaska. It's coming. And unless and until we fix it through election of the proper people, it's not going to get any better. The wokeness is dying away because they see that they didn't get as far with that as they thought they were going to. It still continues in certain aspects, but life goes on, and we have to start getting along. We can no longer be divided by two sides of an aisle that can't get along. And I'll guarantee you, it's got to stop. The division has been intentionally forced upon us, and we have to reverse that. And we have to start watching everything and how we're spending our money and what countries we're supporting in their wars that we don't need to be in. We don't need our sons and daughters to go over there to somebody else's war and die, like these 2 SEALs that have passed. And by the way, they did get that ship, and it was loaded with ballistic missile parts that were going to be assembled by the Houthis to fire at our ships and our merchant marines that can no longer use the Red Sea or the Straits to get their goods and their ships out of harm's way. I hate to bring all this bad news, but it's something that we all need to wake up and realize and be prepared for it. Get some food stocks in your house. Put away the meats and the things that you need in case we can't get them at the supermarket anymore. If you get a chance and you have the ability to lay away drugs such as antibiotics and necessary drugs, like if you're a diabetic and you need insulin, get a stock of it and get this put away, because we don't know what's going to happen or where they're going to hit us and when. So be stockpiled. If you have land, grow some vegetables in the spring. Get fresh things, because you go to the supermarket today and look at the vegetables that they're offering you, they're half gone. By the time you get them home, if you don't eat them the same day, they perish. Do things that our ancestors did. Be prepared. Don't wait for it to hit and then say, I need milk, I need this, I have to get that, because you're not going to be able to. Be prepared. Go on YouTube and look at the Appalachian woman that talks about preparedness and how to do it. There's a lot of preppers that are on YouTube that can tell you how to can, how to take care of meat, how to make things last. Go on there and learn. Don't be complacent. The world as we knew it ceased to exist 3.5 years ago. And they're on the way to do more destruction. Just look at how many people have crashed through this border. It's amazing. You have 10, 11 million people, and 3/4 of them are not accounted for and have been sent all over this country. Transportation provided by your tax dollars. And you don't think that's worth a phone call to the White House, to Congress, to the Senate? We have to wake up, we have to be prepared, and we have to pray and get along with each other. With that said, I don't know where we're going, but I have faith and hope, and I know that God is watching. So pray for peace and tranquility in this country and for the rest of the world, because God's watching, and hopefully He'll help us. We got away from what we were taught as children and the foundations that we were endowed with, not only in religion, but in education, which no longer exists. And when it ceased to exist, all this nonsense happened. So pray we get back on track. And until tomorrow, we love you here at the Kaiser Report. Please don't forget to share this with as many people as you can. It's important. And with that, I'm going to get on out of here and leave you for your day. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.